On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Shades of God by Paradise Lost. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it. And today we are going back to what it was at 1992 with a British, at the time, doom death band, and actually still, kind of again in the last couple of years.
Right.
More so than the big period in the middle.
It's been a ride.
Their sound has evolved and changed and doubled back on itself a couple of times, but they've been around for a while, and we're bringing them on tour with our doom metal bender that we've been going on for the last month. Hey, speaking of benders,
this would have been great to have last week.
Yeah, I found a beer at the liquor. I was about to say alcohol store.
It's a booze store.
That's accurate, but. I found a beer. It's the Hemperor,
which I've had this before. Yeah,
HPA, manufactured by New Belgium, which is a beer made with hemp. And it's kind of interesting because you open it up and smell it, and if you didn't know that it was made with hemp, you would assume it had gone bad. You would assume someone had left it out in the sun for too long, but no.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's supposed to smell.
Right. You would have the reaction, oh, that's skunky, rather than, oh, that's skunky.
Oh, and it's not, it's like, you have the vague, like it's not harsh. Like, actually skunked beer, you smell that and go, oh.
Yeah.
This is just like, it's mild. It's not harsh like actually skunked beer is.
There's definitely weed in there.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's not weed, it's hemp. If there was actually weed in there, I don't think I could buy it at the liquor store here in North Dakota.
I'm just imagining the inspectors coming to this particular room where this variety is being made and going, all right, you guys can come out from behind the vats. We can smell you. What? No, we're just brewmasters.
We weren't doing anything,
making beer.
I mean, I'm sure there is a weed, like an actual weed beer being made.
Sure.
In Colorado or somewhere. I'm wondering, like, okay, this
is made in Colorado.
Oh, really? I didn't know that's where New Belgium was based. But I mean, this is made with hemp, but I'm surprised there aren't, and I mentioned this last week, I'm surprised there aren't CBD beers.
CBD, that'd be great.
Widely available. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised that's not a thing because CBD is perfectly legal everywhere.
Is there a CBD vape options? Is that a thing?
Probably. I don't know. But
I wonder if people are doing that.
I'm sure somebody is. I'm sure someone has figured that out. They're marijuana has created a booming industry of innovation in the states where it is legal recreationally.
Indeed. Not recreational here. Legal for medical
uses here.
And I have no doubt that if I went to my doctor and I said, hey, point to a thing in this chart that could get me weed, he'd say, I don't care, whichever one.
We discussed this a couple of times. I don't have the confidence to do that. To be like, hey, I want weed. Gimme. I don't have the confidence to say that to a real adult with a big boy job.
Wait, you want to lie for drugs?
like a crime. Thank you, John Mulaney. Well, it wouldn't even necessarily be lying. I just I don't know how to, because they like drug commercials. They're like, talk to your doctor about this. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
No, that's his job to know this shit.
They're a doctor. He's supposed to know what I should take.
Yeah.
Or she, or whoever.
Whatever. My doctor's a Dalmatian.
Coming this summer on ABC Family, Dr. Dalmatian. Bark, bark. You're right, Dr. Dalmatian. We should get this patient on this drug immediately. Good job.
I'm glad you saw that television commercial. Dr. Dalmatian.
Dr. Dalmatian coming this June to ABC Family. Fucking ABC Family. what, like, I feel someone wants, to go for the Rick and Morty joke where
Sure.
it's like, what ABC Family asks, what is my purpose? And the response is, you play Harry Potter marathons around Christmas.
Sure.
That's your purpose.
That's what you need to do, and that's it.
That's what you do. That's the only thing people go for you for. I guess people also like to tune in to watch Hocus Pocus on Halloween.
Sure, of course.
That's it. For me, Hocus Pocus is a fine movie. I mostly just watch it for Sarah Jessica Parker in there.
Yeah, that. Why am I forgetting his name? I should know it right off the top of my.
The guy who killed some people.
No, what?
Yeah,
Who killed some people?
her husband.
Her husband? You mean Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
Who did he kill?
It was manslaughter. He was in Ireland.
Wait, when was this?
This was a long time ago.
I don't remember hearing about this.
Yeah, he committed vehicular manslaughter while he was in Ireland.
He was in Ireland. Was he drunk?
I don't remember. I'm not super familiar with the story. I just know that it's a thing that happened. I'm pretty sure it was in Ireland.
Fuck, why can't I remember his damn name?
I can't remember his name either. He was the guy he was the worm guy in Godzilla.
Yeah.
The crappy American Godzilla. The first crappy American Godzilla.
Yes.
I'll correct that.
Right, because then it meant another crappy American Godzilla.
Yeah. Apparently King of the Monsters was fun to watch, at least. I'm always one for watching big monsters beat the shit out of each other.
Sure.
I just kind of wish there was also a big robot to beat the shit out of the big monsters.
That would be Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I love that movie so much. But that's what I don't remember where we started with that, but
Hocus Pocus and
ABC Family.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been up to in this last week?
I gotta say, life has been a blur. Has been an extreme blur.
Yeah, things have been going by.
I mean, we got netting over the garden. I don't know if we had that last week. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. I sleep a lot.
What's the netting for?
To keep the damn bird.
So I imagine that
pissed me off.
fairly tight netting.
It's tight enough to keep them out. Yeah.
Okay.
And not block the sun or anything.
I'm glad that you've worked out something that doesn't involve poison.
Yeah.
Not that you were ever planning on that, but that's about the only thing you could go for. Squirrels. Why not? Like I assume kind of anywhere has this problem, but Minot seems to have a pretty bad squirrel problem.
And you know what? It's man-made. They actually did that. I don't remember what decade it was. People brought squirrels over from the East Coast to make Minot more metropolitan.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's fucking, I don't know.
Is that why there are so many like dark pitch black squirrels?
Yeah, don't know.
I mean, it's
no. Well, I mean, that's why you have so many tree squirrels here. I mean, think about it. Why would tree squirrels be in North Dakota?
I don't know.
We have like 8 fucking trees.
There's some tree. There's plenty of trees along the Missouri.
Yeah.
They just hopped from tree to tree going up along the Missouri.
Yeah.
I grew up in a place where there was also a reasonable amount of squirrels.
Well, I suppose
that we'd shoot at. But I mean, there was a decent amount of tree squirrels there. But yeah, I mean, you go anywhere else in the state, then it's going to be ground squirrels, also known as gophers. Gophers or prairie dogs. Get them prairie dogs and them gophers.
Matthew Broderick.
Hey, we found it. We found it.
I didn't even look at my phone. It was just a thing. My brain was sitting there having some ice cream and staring at a candle. And it went,
I remember now.
Matthew Broderick.
You wanted me? Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, I was doing a thing.
Finally remembered. That's the Emperor kicking.
Yeah, that's the Emperor. Yeah, I'm stoned already.
This is a remarkable artwork on this 6-pack. That's
the Potleaf King.
It looks like fucking Ivan the Terrible, but with
but weed themed.
Yeah, with a bud for a crown and a beard made of pot leaves. That's That's pretty fantastic. That's pretty great. That should be the cover of like a Stoner Doom.
It should
album.
It should be the next cover of the next
Sleep
album.
Well, I don't know if we're ever gonna get another Sleep album because they announced they were going back on hiatus this year sometime.
Sure.
So I don't know if we're gonna get another album.
I mean, they're not young anymore.
They sure aren't,
and they haven't lived a life that would sort of necessitate their old age being healthy.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Pike is trying to do a bit better
now
by himself these days, but and they've all got other projects that they're working on and other projects that are successful. So they don't necessarily need sleep. They've who needs sleep?
Sleep when I'm dead.
I feel like at this point they've gotten what they wanted to get out of it.
Sure.
And are free to pursue other projects. I think they kind of had the fallout after Dope Smoker hanging over them for a long time, like a cloud of pot smoke. And they decide, they had gotten back together and finally cleared the air and made one more album.
Right.
And then disappeared back into the fog.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily fog.
Back into the smoke.
Back into the pot smoke. A couple of weeks ago, I said, "Hey, we're ushering the stoners out of the room. We'll do that again this week for this week's album, because this is the gothic side of doom metal with Paradise Lost." Yes. As you might suspect from the name, I think it'd be kind of hard to have a name like Paradise Lost without being at least a little gothic.
Yeah.
And the thing that's always struck me with Paradise Lost is they seem like more of I think there is a difference between a gothic metal band and a goth metal band.
Right. Oh, yeah. Gothic and goth are two different things.
Yeah.
And Visigoth is also a different thing.
Yes. If you're a Visigoth, you might be, in the 3rd century fighting some Romans.
Yeah.
Visigoth, that's gotta be Visigoth metal should absolutely be a thing.
We need to look into that.
That's get Heilung on the phone, get some guitars on stage with them.
Yeah.
That's Visigoth metal right there, basically.
Yeah.
This is definitely the gothic side of things. And I think the difference between gothic and goth is the difference between Paradise Lost and Typo Negative.
Yeah.
And sort of...
Is Typo Negative goth?
Yeah. I really think they are. I think, especially because, at least from my point of view, Peter Steele has the archetypal. He has the blueprint for every goth metal singer ever. Like,
right, that he's dead.
His voice is the yes. His voice is the blueprint for like every goth metal band singer that came afterwards, of super low and singing about sexy stuff and death. To me, goth metal is metal that goths like. Gothic metal is metal that you can imagine that brings to mind flying buttresses.
Sure. Gothic architecture.
Yes. Yeah. It's metal that brings that to mind versus metal that brings goth subculture to mind. I think that's the difference in my brain. And it's something that I've completely made up for myself.
So that you can better understand the world at large.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
But this came out in 1992. A bunch of good old boys from the UK.
Was this their second album? Was this their third?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, I think this is number 3.
Yeah.
And they kind of started out as mostly, just as I understand anyway, kind of a normal death metal band, and slowly began incorporating more doom into their sound and more melody into their sound as well. Although the part of the melody thing, at least on the front of Nick Holmes's vocals, was probably for his own health, rather than, I'm sure it was also a conscious effort to incorporate a bit more melody and differentiate themselves, because at the time there weren't very many bands that were doing this sort of thing of combining death and doom and growled vocals and clean vocals. There weren't very many bands doing that sort of thing, and you wouldn't really hear that until like something of that caliber until like Opeth started getting more and more popular. Of like, this is kind of dark and gothic sounding. There's death metal vocals, but also there's clean singing, and there's acoustic guitars, and there's melody. That's I feel like Paradise Lost maybe has a big influence on the sound of Opeth. I don't know, because Michael Ackerfeld only ever talks about ABBA. But It's an interesting connection between Paradise Lost and Opeth, because Nick Holmes is now the lead singer of not only Paradise Lost, but also Bloodbath, which was founded by a whole bunch of Opeth members who wanted to play the type of death metal they grew up listening to.
Sure, not the stuff Opeth was doing now.
Yes, and not the stuff that even during the early 2000s, it was not the stuff that Opeth was playing. And so they wanted to basically make just almost like a tribute band, essentially, to the Swedish death metal bands they grew up with. Michael Ackerfeldt was with them for a little while, decided to step back. They got a different singer for one album. That singer stepped away. Michael came back to record another album with them. And then finally it left again. And then in 2014, Nick Holmes joined up and has been with them since. And they've recorded 2 albums there. And I wonder if that is what got Nick Holmes to say, you know what, maybe we should bring the Death Growls thing back to Paradise Lost. Because there is a long period, I think, from the next album
on
to 2015, where there were no Death Growls in Paradise Lost. It was kind of gritty, like James Hetfield shouts, or regular clean vocals, going all the way up to 2015, when suddenly you've got those two things also in concert with Death Growls. And the type of vocal that he's doing on this album, I wouldn't really describe it as a typical death growl either.
No, there's some melody to it. There's tonality.
Yeah, which is odd to hear, and it is gritty. It is more or less a scream, but I'm wondering, and we were discussing this earlier today, I'm wondering if the way he achieved that was basically using the same part of your voice you would use to sing melodically, but just pushing it way, 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 way past where it's supposed to be.
I imagine you get done with a song, you have your special cup that you spit the blood into. Yeah. And then...
Hey, going back to Bloodbath for a moment and Michael Ackerfeldt, apparently that happened to him when they were recording like the first album, he ended up like throwing up blood on the wall of the recording booth or something like that, which is incredibly metal. But that first Bloodbath album, God, I hate the guitar tone on that.
Really?
The guitar tone on the first Bloodbath album is fucking awful. I hate it. I despise it. Because it's basic. It is like the only thing in the signal chain was an HM2.
Oh, really?
And it's like it's
extremely basic.
It's an HM2 that's also like really digitized. It wasn't fed through like really nice warm like compression in an old amp. There's nothing warm or fuzzy to it. It's just a digital chainsaw, and I hate it.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who had a studio here in Minot. He's moved since to Bismarck. But he said, I'll record some of your stuff if you want, and you can pay me whatever. I think I ended up paying him just a case of Diet Mountain Dew. But here you go for your trouble. And
I think he was maybe hoping for like $100.
Yeah, that's really what he was hoping for. So I went over to his studio and he says, you don't even, I got all the shit right here. You don't even need to bring in your cabinet and your head and all that stuff. Yeah. We don't need to mic up a cabinet. That's just a pain in the ass for you to have to haul that over here. Don't worry. So he sat down on the first day and we started recording. I'm like, I'll be right back.
I'm going to go grab my gear. Yeah. What did he have?
He had a digital library.
It was like an old digital profiler.
It was a digital recording system. Like the Muse Audition. It was.
When was this?
This was the late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like digital recording stuff has gone a long way, and profilers and what like digital profilers have come a long way. They sound a whole lot better today than they would have back then. Most people that record, as I understand, still prefer to use analog equipment and mic up an amp, mic up a cabinet and whatnot. But even so, like digital profilers, especially for recording demos, get you probably 90% of the result. Versus back then, significantly less.
And my equipment I'm vintage equipment. I have some shit that's probably, if a collector saw it, would go, I'll give you a lot of money for that. It still works. Yeah,
even with the water damage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Ampeg. I have an Ampeg 140-watt stereo head and a Sonic 4x12 cabinet that I use to just practice. I keep it at 0 so it doesn't rattle the floor above me.
That's probably a decent place to keep it, I guess.
Yeah.
I wish I had a basement. I wish I had a basement and room to just get a whole bunch of speakers and just have a little record theater, basically. Like it's like I want like a home theater, but for music.
You know, I actually did that for a while there when I was living at my friend's house and I didn't have a stereo. I haven't owned a stereo that worked in a long time, but I had I would have a Walkman that I had an adjuster so that would plug into the music cable hole. And then turn on my amp and just blast music.
Oh, wow.
Through my guitar cabinet.
That is, I mean, that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
That'll get you the result. Absolutely. So speaking of, what you were doing back in the day, what was your introduction to Paradise Lost?
I saw them in an interview on like MTV. It was either on MTV or might have been Headbangers Ball if that was still on at the time.
That was on MTV.
Interview, and they did one of their songs off of this album. And I'm like, I've got to fucking get that right now. That has to be in my collection right now.
Gotta grab this.
Yeah.
Oh, the days of Headbangers Ball when when Death Doom would get airplay on a major, I don't know about major, on a network television channel.
Yeah.
I mean, MTV was the only thing in that category for a while, so of course it was the biggest thing, and it was big. So, I don't know when they stopped doing Headbangers Ball.
I don't know.
I had to have been sometime in the mid 2000s because I know that like Killswitch Engage had stuff on Headbangers Ball back in the day, and they got started in 1999. So somewhere in the mid 2000s, MTV was like, we don't care about heavy metal anymore. And I guess the general public agreed.
Nobody complained. Well, not enough people complained.
Yeah, I would have complained, but I was 7.
Where's Ricky Rackman now?
I don't know. Let's find out.
All right.
Sometime later. So, like what... did you keep up with Paradise Lost after that?
It's weird. I didn't. And I don't know why I didn't. I think my life was just too chaotic. My life in the 90s was so chaotic that I found a lot of things that I loved. And then suddenly I'm a different person doing different things. And I forget about, keeping up with bands. And plus, things were different back then in that we didn't have the internet and I didn't have MTV, so I didn't know if they made a new album. And I wasn't always at the record store because I was living in my car.
Yeah, that would make sense because that was about the only place other than having magazine subscriptions. But if you're moving around and living in your car, you're not going to be getting magazines delivered.
Nope.
I guess unless you get them delivered to where you work, which is how you function now.
Yeah.
Even though you've never asked anyone for a magazine.
I did not ask for GQ to be delivered to my desk, but somebody did.
For some reason, you keep on getting, it's GQ, it's Bassmaster.
Which I take pictures of with another magazine covering up that B.
Yeah.
Make it funny for me.
Hey. Welcome to Bassmaster.
Outdoor magazine. I get Golf Digest.
It's so bizarre, and I really have to wonder if it's just you are a man in your mid 40s. Here you go.
No, really. I assume you have lots of money. You've certainly compiled and amassed a fortune by now.
Buy all of these things. Invest in personal health. Play golf.
There's no way that at the beginning of the month right now you have $16.80 in your checking account.
You're a white man in his 40s. Oh, boy. But
no, I didn't keep up with them after this. And I really wish I had, especially considering their new album. Their new album is fan-fucking-tastic.
I only got to listen to a little bit before you interrupted me.
Well,
but
it's an appointed time.
I know. But I had been listening to the album that we brought today, and it got finished up, and Spotify started auto-playing some of their new album, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is really good. It's really, really solid stuff. And I almost like the interplay between clean vocals and the non melodic death growls that he's doing these days.
Right.
He is doing a much more standard, probably far more biologically sustainable death growl, physically sustainable death growl, because apparently, and I was trying to find somewhere where they talked about it and I sort of ran out of time, but you were telling me that sometime after this album, he had to be operated on to remove nodes from his vocal cords, which is certainly within the realm of possibility, especially, if what my ideas about how he was generating that sort of sound are correct. That is definitely something that could happen.
Generating an extreme growl and a tone at the same time.
That is, the human voice was not built to do that. The human voice was not built to do a death growl.
No.
We can just kind of get away with it for a little while as long as you don't push it too far. We can get away with it if you're careful. And some people aren't careful, like me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense that he would have had to get some work done. We've talked a lot about Nick Holmes. What do you know about the other members of the band? Really?
Very little.
Yeah, same here.
Very little. I mean,
all the instrumentation is extremely well done.
Fantastic, yeah.
It's very well done. I like because this is the only like gothic doom I've really listened to. I guess Candlemass kind of counts. They're sort of gothic.
Yeah. In that flying buttress kind of
in the flying buttress kind of way.
Yeah.
But I think it really melds together the two the two worlds, I guess, of like, this is, death metal sort of tone. I'd say the tone of this album, the guitar tone, the tuning, that's all death metal. The riffs, the songwriting, that is more doom metal. Like, you're not going to hear blast beats in this. You're not going to hear, heavy tremolo picked guitars or open, hammering on the open chord. Essentially, you're not going to hear any Kerry King stuff. Not that's not death metal.
No, but
you know what I mean by that.
That was one of the fathers of death metal.
The tab is not going to read 0000000. This is there's a lot of melody in this, and there is a lot of more ornamental guitar work than you would hear on the death metal of the day, because 1992 was that's when death metal was really starting to get heavy.
And you know what's funny? 1992 for death metal, there was a specific guitar sound. In fact, you could play me a chord off of either Death's
Is that Human?
Or not Death, Napalm Death. You put Napalm Death's Harmony Corruption, or either of those two first Obituary albums, or Morbid Angel. You could play me just a chord, and I go 1991 or 1992.
Yep.
I know, because there was a specific sound of guitar there.
There must have been like a new pedal that came out or something that everyone was like, oh my God, I got to have this. That might have been the case, but I think like death metal in the in the early 90s, because you had gotten over the initial wave of death and death sound alikes essentially. And that's when you start getting stuff like Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse really taking off. I can't remember when Dying Fetus got started, but
that was later.
I think that was like mid 90s when Dying Fetus got started, but like, people started taking death metal heavier and heavier and heavier and gorier and gorier. And that is not what this sound was.
No, that wasn't this at all.
Very obviously.
Yeah, he's singing from his soul in this album.
It is.
If you listen to the lyrics.
Yes. Fair amount, I mean, again, the name of the band is Paradise Lost. You got to expect some amount of religious lyrics. Of course, it's not. There's a bug on the, not on your. It was on the headphone. I was looking at it and it was. I didn't know what kind of bug it was.
Oh, there it is.
It was just a little thing. Yeah, it's just a little gnat.
Die now.
What are you waiting for? I will kill you.
It's a weird break, but yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what we're talking
bug
about.
completely broke.
The bug derailed the whole fucking thing.
Derailed the whole podcast. But
I'll see you later.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Do you think this album slaps?
Man, I don't know if it slaps.
I wrote yes, but that is it's a light slap.
It's a light slap. Yeah.
This is not a heavy slap. This is a mild slap.
I mean, there's a lot of great heavy guitar on here.
Yes.
And there's a lot of really cool dissonance they do with that.
Yes.
And that's fun, but I don't know if it's
I wouldn't it doesn't slap in the same way as something else would.
Yeah.
Something else might. Score I found seemed to be roughly 80. A lot of albums end up in that general area as long as they're not a complete dumpster fire. They usually a lot of good albums that you listen to and go, yeah, they end up at around 80.
And that's how they make it here. I mean, because you and I are not the kind of guys who are, hey, let's shit on something next week.
Yeah, that's at least for music. That's not fun. That can be kind of fun with movies.
Sure, which we've done twice now.
Yeah. Also, those were generally, those were just bad movies. But that can be a bit more fun, and it's easier with movies. And it's easier for me, especially with movies, because that is a language I am a bit more fluent in versus finding things to make fun of in bad music. I quickly run through my vocabulary, and I'm just kind of talking out of my ass for a while and end up just saying, sounds bad, which is not entertaining or informative to anybody. So we don't have to do that because we only listen to things that we like.
Exactly.
So what's your favorite song in here?
My favorite song is actually the single, which is oddly the last song on the album.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably because that's the shortest song on the album.
Yeah. As I Die, I think is my favorite.
As I Die is great.
Mortals Watch the Day is also a great song, but
that is a good one. Yeah. I picked Your Hand in Mine.
Oh, sure.
That's a good song. I like that one. That's a pretty dynamic song. I also enjoy the fact that it's called Your Hand in Mine because that is a song title I'm very familiar with from the Explosions in the Sky album. What is that album called? Oh, no. The Earth is Not a Cold, Dead Place by Explosions in the Sky. That's probably their most popular album, I think.
Sure.
And that's the most popular song off of that album is just this very kind of twinkly, sort of heartfelt song that I think closes out the album. It's a great song, but it's like, the thing I like about, or maybe not the thing I like about Explosions in the Sky, but the thing about them is that you listen to that album from the early 2000s and go like, oh, so the whole post-rock thing as it exists now is their fault. Because everyone kind of took their pattern of like, all right, keep everything nice and twinkly and everything is pleasant and you kind of just noodle around and make ambient sounds for the first 5 to 7 minutes, and then in the last 3 to 5 minutes just progressively start making things louder and louder and louder and building up layers. They patented that pattern of songwriting for post rock, and I feel like so many people have copied it.
I feel like we did that recently.
That's almost every post rock album these days is a variation on that formula. There are a lot of bands who do it very differently or very well. There's bands who are more of the Godspeed You Black Emperor school of thought of just like train noises. The last half of this track is just going to be ambient train noises. But that's not really the prevailing style in that genre.
I mean, not that Godspeed You Black Emperor is bad at all.
They're amazing.
They are.
But they have, especially on their early albums, they have a shtick. They have a thing, which is this is going to be 5 minutes of a sound sample that we recorded on the side of the road while we were filling gas.
Bush music. We're recording this bush.
At some point, I
Yeah.
know you are going to force me to listen to all of that album.
I haven't forced you to listen to Trout Mask Replica yet.
I have listened to Trout Mask Replica a little bit. You haven't brought it forth to this
I was going to, and I changed my mind and went with The Residents instead.
which is
in March.
so much more decipherable.
No.
You'll have to wait till September to force that evil plan upon me.
I'll take you to Frownland.
Oh God, it is brain meltingly bizarre. So what medal are you giving Shades of God?
I have to give it a gold medal because of just how much it stuck with me.
This is a great album. I'm giving it a silver because I think like some of the other stuff that I've listened to from Paradise Lost, I like it a little bit more. I think they're a band whose sound really benefits from a little bit cleaner production. And that's something that they have achieved throughout their career. And I gotta listen to more of that new album.
Yeah.
Because what I listened to was really scratching an itch that I didn't realize was there.
Well, Nick had to have been like 21 years old when Shades of God was recorded.
There's a reason why he's called Old Man Nick.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was 21 because he's 49 now. It means he's 3 years older than me. Oh, shit. Yeah, he was 21.
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be a thing in metal where some like the big ones do some of their greatest work when they're kids, essentially.
Yeah.
Like that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The way that works with some people. Like I think Shadow of Intent is a massively impressive band.
And they're all like 12.
Yeah. They're all my age, I think. And they've
12.
Yes. Everyone.
Wait a minute. You have a beer. Why do you have a beer?
It's Canada.
Oh,
we're in Canada.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Because the drinking age in Canada
is 12.
Oh, boy. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode. Next week. Oh, next I'm
while you're thinking there, I just wanted to make mention that okay, this is the things going on in my house right now as we speak.
Okay.
My teenage child has decided that it's going to start making meals for the family based on Disney movies, based on the food from Disney movies.
I mean, there's some good food in Disney movies.
Yeah. Sure. Yesterday we had salads and shrimp and watched Little Mermaid. Because yeah.
I mean, hey,
they eat a salad when she's on the land, and of course, what's her name? The octopus lady.
Oh,
eats the shrimp.
I can't remember. Ursula.
Ursula, yeah.
Ursula.
And so we had that, and we own Little Mermaid on DVD. We watched the movie. We watched it, and then me and the two children, we shit on it through the whole thing.
On the Little Mermaid?
Just picking it apart. Oh, what a stupid plot hole. Oh, man, why would that happen? Oh, fuck that.
90s Disney movies.
Yeah, well, it's 80s.
Yeah, I was going to say it's late 80s for Little Mermaid, isn't
89, yeah. But today they're doing Cinderella, and so scones were made and muffins and things.
You know what would be a really good way to do this is instead of Disney movies, Miyazaki movies.
Oh, that would be awesome.
The food in Miyazaki movies.
Yeah, but how would you make it? I mean, you'd have to...
Well, you can't
really have to improvise.
See, you can make the meals. You can't necessarily make it look like they look in Miyazaki movies, because there's such a weird thing about Miyazaki movies is they make... And I think it's just Studio Ghibli movies. It's not necessarily Miyazaki. The food looks so good.
It does.
I don't know how they do that. It's
they make it look just like a feast.
Animated in 2D, but the food looks so good. I don't know why.
But the end of the story is it was going to cost $15 to rent Cinderella. Yeah, on Amazon, and I have Prime. And
$15.
I want $15 to rent Cinderella. The original
what the
cartoon.
fuck?
So
fucking Disney.
My wife went downstairs and dug through all our shit, and
yeah, is that the VHS?
That's a VHS.
My God.
They're watching a VHS of Cinderella tonight.
That is, wow. That's dedication.
That is
there.
dedication.
I'm sure I'm sure there might still be some Disney VHSs at my parents' place. I think that they kept a lot of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wonder how badly degraded Beauty and the Beast is, because at least according to my dad, he probably watched that movie around 1,000 times.
Really, your dad did?
Not by his choice.
He because he had daughters.
2 young daughters.
I suppose, yeah.
Who said, "Dad, can we watch it again?" Okay.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sure your dad didn't do what we would have done.
Which was?
Shit all over it. I mean,
maybe to himself.
So the point of this movie is she needs a man to fulfill her life.
Maybe that would be it, especially if he's watching it with me. That would be what it. When we were at the lake last year, we were drinking and watching not Avengers Endgame, but we were watching Infinity War, and I was just making fun of the whole thing. Infinity War is a good movie.
Sure.
I was just drinking alcohol and was just like, this is fucking stupid. Why are they doing it that way? Because I have a weirdly encyclopedic knowledge about firearms for whatever reason.
You do, yeah.
We're going off on a horrible tangent before we close
it, which is fine. It's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do. But Winter Soldier in Infinity War is using an M249 saw, but with M16 magazines inserted into it, which is a thing you can do. That gun is designed to take that, and they are notoriously unreliable using those magazines to the point where you might as well throw the machine gun away. Like, you're out of belts, don't use the machine gun anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like we'll worry about it later. Pick up an extra, M4 or M16 that's lying around if you can.
There's an opening for a magazine, but it's going to jam. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. There is a port that is specifically designed to take M16 mags, but they almost never work unless under the best of circumstances. You're really much better off using the belt that was designed to go in the gun.
Mm-hmm. And that was your critique.
That was me being the weird gun nerd that I am. I don't know why. I don't know why I have such an encyclopedic knowledge of firearms. I think I've just played too many video games. But anyway. That's next week. Let's see.
Doom metal.
I'm kind of almost debating because there's a band called End.
Oh yeah,
put out a new album that is
not doom metal.
Very much not doom metal. It's more of a you could almost. Some people label them a hardcore band. Mm-hmm. I think that's fairly accurate because I would describe their sound as a genre that I love to say the name of, power violence.
Power violence.
Which is hardcore punk that's been stepped up to the intensity of grindcore.
Yeah.
Like, grindcore is hardcore punk stepped up in intensity with metal mixed in. Power violence is that just with the metal left out. Mm-hmm. And I think End is fairly close to that.
And in this band is Will
Putney.
Will Putney, yeah.
Songwriter and producer right. of many albums and songwriter for Fit for an Autopsy. Mm-hmm. And this is...
He doesn't go on tour with them. He records with them.
Yes, he records and writes, but does not go on tour because he's usually producing albums for a whole bunch of other bands.
Right, he has shit to do.
But it's a big album. It's incredibly intense and angry. And I kind of want to talk about that as much as I love Empress Rising, which was what I was originally going to go with. It was a Monolord album, but this came out. It's new. It's fresh. And I think,
stuck it in my brain today, and I kind of want to talk about it too.
So I think next week we'll talk about the new album from End, which I believe was called
something about an ever-changing face.
Slivers, slivers of an ever-changing face or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week. The new album by End. The band is just called End.
Not The End.
END.
Capital letters.
That's it. And it's great stuff. So as we said last week, for all of you out there who are, out protesting for racial justice, look out for each other. If that's, if you're doing that, good on you. And thanks for taking some time to listen to us, and look out for each other. Stay safe. If you are patiently waiting for next week's episode, find us on Facebook and on Twitter. We're at Bronze Medalist Podcast. And we're also on your Apple devices and on Libsyn. So thanks very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.